Welcome back to the show, everybody. My name is Shane. I am here with Mark.
Hey.
And we are the Fantasy Football Pros. Today, we are going to be talking about second-year wide receivers and see how their prospects look for going into the 2021 season.
You know, I think with what we were talking about, the running backs in our past episodes, there was definitely feast or famine with them. They did not start off as well as what I think some of these second-year wide receivers did. I think overall, the rookie wide receivers that came out this year had a much more productive year than the running backs did. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the rookie wide receivers definitely had better play than the running backs. There's only a small handful of running backs that actually helped your team. And if they did, it was only, the last 3 or 4 games of the season compared to some of the wide receivers where, they busted out, week 3.
Yeah, definitely had more productive start of the year with the receivers for sure. And I think we're going to see some fantastic second years. I don't think we're going to have the sophomore jinxes. I don't think we're going to have the recession. I think there's a lot of these receivers that are going to be in better situations with different coaches, with different offensive schemes. So I'm really looking forward to see what these receivers do this year.
Plus the ones that are staying with the same system, same quarterback, same coaches, they didn't have preseason. They didn't have much practice. You don't get that rhythm with your quarterback that you really, really need to catch all those deep passes.
Yeah, they've definitely had more time now with their quarterbacks. It's a little different than when you're running back, you're getting the ball handed to you and you hit the hole, you follow your blocking. These guys definitely have more timing with each other that they need to have a little more of cohesiveness between them.
Yeah,
for sure.
So we were starting off with Justin Jefferson, who is a big fantasy football favorite of ours, especially you, Mark, because you picked him up from free agency after week 3. Justin Jefferson,
the purple monster himself.
Purple monster. He was the number 6 overall wide receiver in PPR formats. All Justin Jefferson did in 2020 was get the NFL rookie record with 88 catches. He had 125 targets, which is unheard of for a rookie. And he had 1,400 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, they just started, once they found him, they just started targeting him. Many times that he just completely outperformed Thielen, which I cannot believe I'm saying, because Thielen had a very good year also. But there were times that he just totally overshadowed Thielen in some games.
I mean, besides the touchdown aspects, yeah, he definitely looked like he was the favorite wide receiver. He was a more talented wide receiver. Obviously, Adam Thielen's aging now.
I mean, look at his week 3. His week 3 he had 175 yards on 7 catches. I mean, he just exploded after the first couple
That's
weeks.
crazy impressive.
Yeah, that's just kind of announcing to the league, hi, I'm here. Thank you.
I mean, definitely the touchdown threat is definitely Adam Thielen. Adam had 14 touchdowns, but Jefferson had more targets than Thielen, and Thielen was just the target beast. Once Diggs left, it was just all Thielen. And then Jefferson comes in. You're not really thinking he's going to, take that big of a role that quickly. But it just seems like he just stepped into that Stephen Diggs spot, and he's just like, okay, I'm the new guy. I got it. Give me the ball.
I mean, he definitely has some good chemistry with Captain Kirk, that's for sure.
Yeah, he did. I mean, Jefferson had 125 targets. Thielen had 108 targets. The next closest guy besides those two guys was Dalvin Cook with 54 targets. So going into 2021 season, I don't see his target share changing. And if it does, it might lean maybe a little bit more towards Jefferson going into a second year.
But like you said, there's still going to be Thielen's still going to be the man when it comes down, getting down to the end zone.
In the red zone, yes.
He's still be that guy.
He is their threat right now.
Yeah.
Until they get a Kronk.
And well, I mean, he has such great hands, Thielen does. And I mean, he's not fast by any means, but he's elusive. So he can if he can find separation in that little 20-yard area, he can find separation somehow.
Yeah.
And no matter where the ball is thrown, he's catching it. Now, you were talking about those 2 wide receivers and such a huge drop between that and the third guy. Is there any other team in the league that has that discrepancy like that? I mean, there's so many other teams that are such more balanced where they'll have 3-4 guys catching the ball. That's just a huge discrepancy in targets.
No, I don't think this is any other team in the NFL right now that has such a funnel for targets, especially to the wide receivers. It's just going to those two guys.
And and there's all these rumors in Minnesota about, oh, they want a different quarterback. They really don't like Cousins. All the shakeups that we see with quarterbacks moving around, I still see nothing coming down the pipeline. Nothing out there that's something to grab hold on to for Minnesota for another quarterback better than Kirk Cousins right now.
No, they're going to be sticking with Cousins this year. Maybe they'll draft one, and he can watch Kurt pass and watch how the game is played. But no, it's going to be Kirk Cousins in this offense.
Yes, definitely. I think he'll actually do a good job of bringing a young quarterback around too. To be honest with you, I think he has the attitude that he will be willing to help out a young guy to learn what the NFL is all about. I mean, look at this. What a year he had. And again, you mentioned it. I was able to pick him up after the third game. Let Justin Jefferson be a cautionary tale to the owners out there. Yes, I picked him up after the third game, but that's only because one of the team owners dropped him after the second game. They weren't patient enough. They made the right evaluations when they drafted him, but they weren't patient enough to hold on to him through the first part of the season just to let him get his footing in the NFL. And so, yeah, this guy dumped him after the second game. I said, thank you very much, and picked him up. And look what happened after that. I mean, he just exploded after that.
Yeah, I think he got about 1,300 passing yards after week 2.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. If you do the homework, if you're doing the work on this, and you're looking, and this is the guy you want, and you've selected him, and you've looked at him and said, "Yeah, I'm targeting this guy. I'm gonna get this guy. I'm gonna get this rookie," and then you don't hold on to him for a little while, that is a big mistake. You should hold on to him. You have to wait a quarter this. You have to wait at least 4 games in before you start just panicking and dumping people. This league is tough enough as is to get into, and then they come into it and they have to figure out the system, and then they were on a shortened training camp. He needed a little bit of time, that's all, and he figured it out very quickly, and the Vikings figured out very quickly who he was. Now, last year he was average draft number 132. That's where his average draft position was 132. And yes, owners did get rid of him. That's not going to happen this year.
Yeah, everybody, do not make that mistake. If you have a rookie wide receiver or running back on your team, just give it some time, especially running backs. Running backs tend to take a little bit longer. They'll kick in towards the tail end of the season, just like Cam Akers did. Just be patient, hold on, listen to the show. We'll tell you who to pick up and who not to drop.
This year, with Jefferson, the drafts that are going on right now, he's being selected in the late 4th round. But I have seen some drafts that he's been going as early as this late 2nd round.
Wow.
So he is definitely being targeted right now. If you are in a keeper league, he's a keeper. keep him now, because you're not going to get any discount on him now. The discount is gone.
Yeah, the man's a beast.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be going in the 4th round unless something drastic happens. He's too talented of a player.
Yeah. Again, and I go on sites. I'm sitting there watching the drafts. Drafts happening now for this year coming up already, and right now it's the 4th round. But that will change, I'm sure, as more and more people start realizing and looking. I'm sure people do realize what he did last year, but when they start doing their homework and going, "Wow, this is what he did," I think 3rd round is probably where he's going to be.
And an easy lock for 1,000 yards.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. As long as he stays healthy, I don't care who the quarterback is. He's going to get his 1,000 yards.
Mm-hmm. Unless they bring in like an Antonio Brown, I believe is a free agent now. Yeah, Antonio Brown only signed a 1-year contract with the Bucs. So yeah, if he comes in there and now there's 3 talented wide receivers, yeah, of course he's not going to get his targets. But as of right now, I mean, I think he's a great lock for the 3rd round.
Yeah, I love him. How could you not? Who's the next guy on your list you want to talk about?
All right, next on our list is Jerry Jeudy of the Denver Broncos. Kind of a disappointing season. I mean, if you just look at the fact that he had 113 targets, I mean that's amazing. but he only had 52 catches. 52 catches. That's less than 50%.
That is ugly. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, and you'd want to think, oh, maybe it's just Locke. Locke wasn't all that great, but Tim Patrick didn't have much of an issue. Tim Patrick only had 79 targets from him, but he had 51 catches. So Jerry Jeudy definitely has some hand issues that he needs to work on in the offseason.
Now, let's put it this way, not all his fault. Now, he did have 12 drops this year. Crazy. But Locke was not the most accurate passer in the league, that's for sure.
That is true.
Maybe these drop passes are confidence. Maybe he just doesn't have the hands. But if it's a confidence problem, his last week of the season, week 17, he actually had 5 catches on 7 targets with no drops for 140 yards and a TD. Hopefully he can build on that because he has talent, no doubt about it. Let's just see if he can build on that confidence in the offseason, have maybe be a little more cohesive with Locke. Maybe it's a timing thing with them. Maybe they need some more work just in the offseason working on it together.
Right, yeah. It could just be a simple timing issue. I mean, they've had that before, and they fix the timing, and then they just look beautiful together. Who was it at? Andrew Locke?
Yeah.
And T.Y. Hilton. They had that awesome chemistry. It just felt like Andrew Locke could just close his eyes and have T.Y. run a route, and he'll just lay it on him.
Yeah, he wouldn't even be looking for it, and all of a sudden, there it is right there.
Yeah, he just turns his head. Oh, thank you.
All right, now, I got a question for you, though.
Yeah.
Here's my question for you. Judy had the 5th highest air yards per target, and he had 21% target share of the attempts thrown to him, of the passing attempts. Is he number one receiver on this team? Or do you think some of these other rookies that were there, because they had 3 rookies that were very productive. What do you think?
No, I don't think Judy's the number one. I mean, he's very fast. He is a speed demon, but he's not. I mean, he gets manhandled by the corners if they're pressing him at the line of scrimmage. So he needs to work on that. I mean, if he had 113 targets, which was the most targets on the team,
Yeah, 21%.
but he only had 52 catches, 850 yards. He only had 3 touchdowns. Melvin Gordon had 44 targets. Deshaun Hamilton had 44 targets. KJ Hamler had 56. Tim Patrick had 79. Noah Fant had 93 targets. It seems like they like to spread the ball a lot. Let's just remember that Courtland Sutton got injured early in the season. He only played a couple games, and he's going to be back, and he is their number one guy. And it seems like Tim Patrick already has that chemistry with Locke. So where does that leave Judy? Does that leave Judy as the number 3 wide receiver? Because that doesn't mean that he's also the number 3 target, because he also had Noah Fant. So now is either the number 4 option on the team.
And let's not forget about Hamler, who did come on at the end of the year. So I agree with you. I don't think that Jerry Jeudy, even though that he was the number 1 in targets last year and the number 1 receiver of the team, and that was de facto because of Sutton getting hurt, I don't think he's going to be the number 1 and probably not number 2. So he might be number 3. And if he continues to have drops during the training camps, he might not even be number 3. You might see a Hamler take that over.
Number 3 wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
4th in targets. Then?
Yeah.
I don't think we'll be looking at Jerry Jeudy in the draft. Actually, in fact, we'll probably be looking at Courtland Sutton just because of the huge value that he's going to represent because he got injured. So we really didn't see anything from the guy.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to let someone else make that choice and waste their draft pick on Judy.
Mistake.
Yep.
Have him sit on your bench.
Yeah, and he is going to go
sit on somebody else's bench. Don't clog up mine.
He's probably, and you know what though, people are going to see that 113 targets for him, right? That's what people are going to look at. He's going to be selected in the 9th round, 10th. He's going to be selected in the 8th or 9th round probably, just because people look at that and go, "Oh my, look at that! That's a shiny toy that you don't really need to play with."
That's an expensive toy. I'd rather get that toy in like the 12th or 13th round.
And again, there are so many other people and so many other values that I will not be looking for him in that 12th or 13th round either. I'm avoiding. I'm just going to step away.
Yeah, that makes 2 of us. That is an avoid for us.
All right. Well, I think we've said all we want to talk about Jerry Jeudy. That's all I got to say about that.
Next on our list is T. Higgins, the man himself.
What a body.
T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, T. Higgins was selected in the second round by Cincinnati to go with Joe Burrow, hoping that this was going to be the new start of their offense. Joe Burrow, obviously got hurt, limiting T. Higgins' potential for the half end of the season. But he did get 67 catches on 108 targets, respectable 908 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Not that bad at all. And he was the number 28 overall in PPR.
Yeah, Higgins definitely was a favorite target there for a while of Burrow. I mean, he loved throwing to that 6'4", 215-pound of a man. He's got the prototypical wide receiver body. He's 6'4", 215, good speed, a physical specimen. He came into the league. Yeah, he was drafted in the second round by Cincinnati, but he was not that well received by fantasy owners to start the year. In the drafts, he was the number 74 receiver taken in last year's drafts. I think that won't happen again. I believe people actually believe in him now.
Yeah, I think we all believe in him now.
And there is good news for the fans of him and Burrow together, the Cincinnati fans. Burrow is on track to be back on the field for the start of the season. I mean, still a lot of things have to go right for that, but he's still on track at this point from what all reports are coming out of Cincinnati that he is on track to be there at the beginning of the year.
And what a lot of people don't know about T. Higgins is that he's Clemson's receiving touchdown record. Actually, he tied it. 27 touchdowns he had, which is tied with DeAndre Hopkins and Sammy Watkins.
Good company.
Not too shabby. I mean, Sammy's had a pretty decent year or career, but Hopkins, I mean, to have any kind of stat that's tied with Hopkins, guy's a beast. So let's look at his.
He did okay.
Let's take a look at what we'll think of him for next year. So, just looking at the target numbers from the past year. So, Giovanni Bernard had 59 targets. Drew Sample, their tight end, had 53 targets. AJ Green had 104. Tyler Boyd had 110 to go with T. Higgins, 108. Now, you obviously see a funnel with those 3 wide receivers, showing that Joe Burrow likes to throw to his wide receivers. And AJ Green is currently a pending free agent, and I do not see them re-signing AJ Green. I don't think there'd be a point. They got Tyler Boyd, they got T. Higgins. They can see what they got with Drew Sample.
Yeah, no, there's no reason for Green to come back. Thank you for your years of service. We appreciate you done for the team, but no, it's time to go. He will be too expensive for them to keep. And how happy is he going to be being the third guy?
No, AJ Green would not be happy at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, way too expensive to keep the guy.
Yeah, just not worth it. There's so many other possibilities, and this year, I mean, they could go again and get another wide receiver in the draft this year. The draft is loaded with wide receivers, so that's where I think they're going to go to replace that.
Yeah, you can definitely go with a much cheaper option. Get the rookie contracts for what, about 4 years. You don't have to offer AJ Green. He's not going to want a 1-year contract. He's going to want at least 2, 3, maybe 4 years. He's going to be a high price tag.
So where do you see drafting Higgins this year? Where do you think he's going to go?
I really don't know. I don't know how to judge that right now. I think it's a little too early to tell.
And again, the only thing we can judge these things on right now are the mock drafts and the drafts that are going on right now. And he is being selected right now. And this is earlier than I thought. I was really thinking when the season ended, I thought we'd be able to get him in the 8th round, maybe 9th round. He is being selected in the 12th pick in the 7th round right now on average.
I could see that. As you were saying that, I was thinking maybe 7th, 8th round.
And that's just, I think, part of my original thinking of the 8th, 9th round was not knowing if Burrow is going to be back. Now with the reports coming out like they are, and people are seeing, what the reports for Burrow's health is coming out right now of Cincinnati, I think that's why we're seeing him being selected right now in the 7th round.
Kind of surprised it's that low. I thought it would be a little higher, having most people not realize that AJ Green probably won't be with the team next year.
Well, and I think that's going to shake out also as we get into more in the offseason here, when we start getting free agent signings, when you get these people released from teams saying, no, we're not going to sign you, restricted free agents. I think what we're going to see is this start being selected in a higher position now. as things break down. And as more news comes out for the offseason workouts, when that news breaks out and you start seeing Burrows being involved or not involved, I think his draft position can fluctuate quite a bit. Let's move over to Brandon Ayuk.
Okay.
Brandon Ayuk, I think he lived up to the pressure of being selected 25th in the draft. He started slow.
Very slow.
Yeah, kind of pedestrian in the first 6 games. And then week 7 is when he kind of came onto the scene, where he had 6 catches for 115 yards. Again, showing that you do need a little time as a rookie. Do not get rid of these rookies. If you put the time in and the homework to get these guys and you pick these guys up, don't get rid of them too early. He was not that great in the first 6 games. It took 6 games for him to catch on and say, oh, wait a minute, click, light bulb goes on. I understand now. I understand the offense now.
Do you think it was that, or do you think it had anything to do with the injuries that they had?
Well, Deebo Samuels did only play 3 games in the last 10 weeks.
I mean,
he was given more.
He only played 7 games overall.
Yeah, he took advantage of the opportunity given to him, definitely. But that's what you need to do that. When an opportunity is given to you, you need to take advantage of it. You can't let that go to waste. He took advantage of it. He finished the season with 60 catches on 96 targets, 748 yards, and 5 TDs. I believe that he can continue that. I think that's the right progression. Even with Samuels coming back, I still think this is a guy that we can draft, and draft much earlier than he was drafted last year. That's for sure.
Draft him earlier, yeah, definitely. I mean, he's not the number 1 on that team though. That's still being held by Kittle.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Kittle had 63 targets in 8 games. Jordan Reed came in. He had 46 targets when Kittle was hurt. That's 109 targets going to the tight end position alone. Aiyuk got 96. Samuels only got 44, but he only played in 7 games. So there's definitely a funnel going to those guys. But then you also have Kendrick Bourne, who had 74 catches.
Do you see Kendrick Bourne still being a major factor next year?
No. I think he's definitely going to be taking a back seat. I think Samuels and Aiyuk are going to be the 1 and 2 guys there. You got Kittle as the de facto number 1 receiver on the team.
It's crazy that we're talking about these guys like the Kittles and Kelsey's and the Wallers. Like, don't even look at him as a tight end. Draft them where you would draft them as if they were a receiver. So many people, and I'm sorry, I know I'm going off a little variant here, but so many people say, well, I don't draft a tight end until the 3rd round or the 4th round or the 5th round. Well, you're drafting a wide receiver who just happens to play the tight end position.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just crazy that the thinking people have on that. They're so stuck on, I don't take a quarterback until at least the 8th round. I don't take, it's crazy that people box themselves in like that.
I think people just had that mindset that tight ends do not get the targets. They don't get the yards and the amount of catches that wide receivers get. So they tend to try to draft them in the later rounds, try to get a sleeper or rotate guys. But now that we see that there's like 3 powerhouse tight ends, getting one of those guys instead of drafting a wide receiver, it gives you that huge advantage because there's so many talented wide receivers that you can just get in the middle rounds, that you don't need to go get, DeAndre Hopkins early, and instead you can get a Kittle, and then you can fill up your wide receiver spots with other talented wide receivers. There's so many talented wide receivers. There's no point, in my opinion, to be wasting a high draft pick on a wide receiver.
There are so many serviceable ones that you can get in the middle rounds, the wide receivers. I mean, let's put it this way. If Kittle was, instead of having that TE at the end of his position and had a WR, would he be a 1st round pick?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Exactly my thoughts. That's the way you have to look at it. And then and you're taking them, and again, I agree with you. I would take them over a top line wide receiver at that point because there's such a discrepancy between the 2 positions of the points between what they get and what the 4th tight end is going to get. You can really set yourself apart in at that position. But anyway, that was just a tangent. I just went on a tangent. I do apologize for that. So Aiyuk this year, I believe he's draftable. I think more highly of him than you do.
I think so, yeah.
Right now, I'm looking at him in the 6th round, 7th round, late 6th round, early 7th round.
Okay. Well, I'll be looking for you to draft him in that round. I probably won't. He doesn't really excite me. That's just my opinion.
And that's okay. That means I don't have to fight with you in our league for him then. Unless you want to be a jerk and just cock block me there.
Oh, no, I don't Well, I don't like that strategy at all. I don't block. I think that's such a poor strategy. I've seen people do that. There's like, well, I know you really like this guy, so I'm going to take him, and then you're going to trade for him later on. It's like, and what if they don't? And now you have a guy that you don't want just to block someone.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. The only time I block anybody is toward the end of the year when you're getting into the playoffs and you're looking at, listen, my team is set. I really don't need to pick anybody up, but I know the guy behind me is having a problem with their running back, so I'm going to pick up the best available running back, put him on my bench just so he can't use him against me. I believe it
Yeah, that
that
kind
way.
of blocking is absolutely fine. I do that quite often. Tight ends, quarterbacks, any like real position that there's very few guys that can actually fill it. I always like taking, especially in the playoffs, I'll take, two guys. If I have the space on my roster, I'll take two guys before anybody else gets the opportunity to even look. But to use that tactic in the draft, I think you're only hurting yourself.
Oh, yeah. The only time you would do that in the draft is if you really don't like one of the other team owners that you have a little rivalry with, and you know he's got a favorite player, and you grab him first just to piss him off.
Yeah, I can see you using that tactic. That's completely fine. If it's just to piss somebody off factor, absolutely. But if you don't believe in the guy and you're drafting him, that doesn't make any sense to me. Unless you're just trying to get underneath somebody's skin.
Yeah, unless you just really want to take a whiz in someone's Wheaties.
Next on our list is Leviska Shenault. Now, Shenault had 58 catches on 79 targets. He finished the season with 600 yards. He had 5 touchdowns. Now, those stats don't jump out at all. I mean, he didn't really have a quarterback. And when he did have a quarterback, they were getting injured. He also had DJ Shark in front of him, stealing a lot of targets. He had Keenan Cole taking targets. I mean, Shark had 93. Cole had 88 targets. Definitely in front of Shenault. But 4 of his 5 touchdowns came in the last 5 weeks. And 2 of them were in the final week with Shark not on the field when he got hurt. So given the opportunity, Shenault has proven that he's a talented wide receiver.
Yes, without a doubt. If he's given the opportunity, he has the tools to produce. Now, I want to throw a couple things at you with this. You have a brand new offensive coordinator coming in, brand new head coach, brand new quarterback. We do not know who that quarterback is yet. And I'm not sure that it's going to be Trevor Lawrence, to be honest with you, the number 1 pick. I know everybody said, oh, he's the number 1 pick. I don't know about that. And let me throw you out why I say that. Darrell Bevel was the quarterback coach and then the offensive coordinator for Russell Wilson. He's the one that actually went out and watched Russell Wilson and had the Seahawks to convince the Seahawks to draft him.
Yeah, he scouted Russell. Yep. He put him on their radar.
Who is more like a Russell Wilson? That was his project. That was his baby, right? Is it Zach Wilson out of BYU or is it Trevor Lawrence? In my opinion, I think that's more of a Zach Wilson type of player. So I'm not so sure we can just assume that Trevor Lawrence is going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. What's your thoughts on that?
That is very interesting. Everyone says that he's the number 1 quarterback, but does he fit your system? But if somebody is that talented, do you draft him anyway and change your system? Or do you keep your system because that's what works for you and then draft a player that fits your style of play?
I think Darrell Bevel does not have a completely one style of play. If you look at Seattle's offense during those years, when he had Marshawn Lynch was the guy. I mean, how many yards did he run for? How much share of the touches did he get when he was there? A lot.
A majority. I mean, he was averaging like 1,400 rushing yards per year.
And Wilson at that time, he was just getting over 3,000 yards in the air. So he was that style of coach, offensive coordinator when he had Lynch. Then when Lynch was gone, all of a sudden you see Russell Wilson throwing for over 4,000 yards. Top running back Rawls only getting somewhere along the lines of 800 yards. Then Chris Carson comes in, right? All of a sudden, you have this 1,000-yard rusher again. But Wilson was still throwing for over 4,000 yards.
Mm-hmm. So it seems like he prefers to run, but if he doesn't have that option, he will definitely throw the ball and knows how to get his receivers open to allow his quarterback to give him the ball.
And then you have Urban Meyer, who for years, if you look back at Ohio State, their quarterback play, they were athletes, shall we say, okay? They were athletic. They weren't great quarterbacks. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but they weren't great quarterbacks, but they were very athletic. But what he always had was the big play wide receiver that somehow or other they would get the ball to this receiver and just let him do some damage. So my thinking on this, that is something that he hired Bevel because Bevel, I'm not going to say a yes man, but he will make his offense fit whatever scheme needs to be fit, if that makes sense.
Because DJ Shark is actually bigger than Shenault.
Yes.
If he likes the big back, then Shark will be getting most of the targets, which he did.
But what I think we'll see is that number 2 guy can be Shenault.
If he can take Keenan Cole, which I believe he is, I think he's more talented, then yeah, he could be the number 2 guy on a new, possibly prolific offense. You have a new offensive coordinator, new quarterback. You have a talented running back in James Robinson, talented wide receivers.
And the thing is, you have not just talented wide receivers, but big and fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in college, he was being compared to the next Julio Jones, which I think that spells a lot. It says a lot. I think Shenault will break out and be a top 10 wide receiver at some point in his career. I don't know if it'll be next year or if he needs a year to get, really good chemistry with his quarterback or what, but eventually he will be the guy. I'm thinking it won't be next year though, maybe in 2 years. His third year will be his breakout year.
But what an athlete this guy is. Look at what they did. They had him doing end arounds. They had him throwing the ball. They used him on all these different gimmick plays. He's just an athlete. And I believe that Urban Meyer is just he will use him. He was gonna find ways to get him the ball. And that's what I'm looking forward to this year, is to see what with this, like you said, new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new quarterback, how they will use this guy, because he is so versatile. That's why I believe that he will be, for fantasy purposes, the second best wide receiver on the team.
And where would you be looking for Shenault in the draft?
Well, look at last year. He was only owned in 13% of the ESPN leagues and only 16% of Yahoo leagues. So it's not like people really believe in him or know about him. I think this year he'll probably be drafted somewhere in the mid to late 12th round. If I'm in that position, and I'm kind of looking at it this way, not that now I'm giving my secrets away to you that you can use against me. I really think by then I'll have my top 4 wide receivers drafted. I'm short up in that. I think in the 11th round or so, I'm probably gonna be looking to pick him up for my 5th wide receiver.
Yeah, I was actually going to say the same thing. I don't want to count on him to be a starter because there's a lot of mystery behind, what he will do next year. But I am more than willing to take a stab at someone that has very high potential to have a breakout year, which he does. Just to sit on my bench and just, wait it out a few weeks and see where he goes.
Just looking up right now as we're talking, he is being selected right now as the 12th pick in the 10th round in mock drafts at this point right now. So we're kind of on the same thinking as other people. So in that 10th round, if you want to get him before the people, you might have to do it early in the 10th round. And he might be there in the 11th round, might not.
So yeah, he'll be drafted around the same area that Brandon Cooks was last year.
Yes. Now, in the drafts that are happening now, what the type of receivers you're looking at right around him in that same area is a Corey Davis, a Henry Ruggs, a Devonta Smith, and Mr. Cole Beasley. That's kind of where you're looking at in that same area where he's being selected.
I mean, out of that group, I would definitely take Shenault over all of them.
I agree. I think he shows more promise than the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's more athletic, and maybe it's the high hopes of saying, hey, we know what offense Urban Meyer has liked to run in the past. I think that really fits him.
And that is all we have time for today, folks. Thank you again for listening to the Fantasy Football Pros. Again, my name is Shane. I'm here with Mark, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.